do to secure the border. Americans know that's a lie. Using the same authority that Joe Biden has, a superior president, Donald Trump, secured the border and stopped rampant, deadly, and uncontrolled illegal immigration. Let's make a run for the border and get an update on the Democrats' biggest crime scene as we welcome in Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Sir, always a pleasure. Wanted to get your quick comments on the breaking news. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announcing he's sending a battalion up to 1,000 soldiers from Florida's National Guard to help Texas and fight the Democrats' illegal immigration campaign. Your reaction, sir?
Well, we're glad to have all the help we can get because our men and women have been down there for a long time on long shifts, away from their families, away from their jobs in the National Guard. So we're glad to have that help, and Florida has helped. In fact, I was on the border last Friday down at Shelby Park. That's the day that there was some news that the Border Patrol might show up and cut the wire, so I wanted to be there. The governor was out of the country, so I was the acting governor at the time. I wanted to be sure that I would be there, and they didn't come and cut the wire. We didn't want a confrontation with them. They obviously didn't want one with us. And had they cut the wire, Chris, we would have, by the way, just repaired it and put up more wire. I said at the time, they're going to need a lot of wire clippers because we have a whole lot of wire, and we're continuing to put it up. The Supreme Court didn't tell us to take it down. They just said that they could cut it. Well, they didn't show up, and I'm glad they didn't, because there's no reason to be at Shelby Park, because 2 months ago, 2,000 to 3,000 people were crossing the border there into Shelby Park, and since we put up the razor wire and our containers below it, I think yesterday there were 6, and when I was there last Friday, there weren't any who had crossed that day when I left. But when I left there, leaving the park, I ran into some law enforcement. I walked up and said hello. I said, "Where are you from?" They said, "Florida." So there was already a contingent there on Friday that had come down. So we welcome the help, and I know the other states are backing us up. Sends a strong message to this president and to America that as the red states, we're united. Because when you have a situation, Chris, where the number one issue on people's minds in the Iowa caucus is border, or New Hampshire border, this is a national problem, not just a Texas problem. Glad to have the help.
Right, brought into the country by Democrats. Let's dig a little deeper into this. It's been nearly a week since the Biden regime gave Texas that 24-hour deadline to allow federal agents access to Shelby Park and Eagle Pass so that our good men and women in the Border Patrol would be once again forced to usher in illegal aliens rather than protecting our nation, as most of them want to do. That deadline has come and gone, and we're, as you just articulated, we're getting the reports now, and you seem to confirm it, that illegal crossings in Shelby Park have dropped significantly now that it's no longer under the control of lawless Democrats. What can you tell us? Is Texas actually that successful at protecting America?
Yeah, well, we are, Chris, and if they would leave us alone and let us do our job, and had they continued the policies of Donald Trump, who actually had the border more secure than it's been in the last 2 decades, in his last year and a half in office, this border would be secure. You know, Chris, on average, for the last several decades, about 400,000 to 450,000 people were apprehended crossing the border. And I say apprehended, we're talking about those who come across the points of entry. There are 28 points of entry from Mexico to Texas, for example. These are the people that you hear about. Oh, there are 2 million. You know, they just come in and claim asylum. Of course, 95% aren't eligible for it, but they come in. So that's the numbers. So the numbers, Chris, before Biden was about 400 to 450,000 a year. It jumped to over 2 million, or close to 2 million his first year, and has increased. So when you hear this number that 8 to 10 million have come across, that's just the ones coming across the points of entry. So Shelby Park, for example, is a park below 2 bridges that are 1.5 miles apart. Those 2 bridges, there are illegals crossing there. But the ones who tried to get in through the park and other areas, well, why would they not want to come across the bridge and claim asylum? Could they be criminals? Could they be carjackers, kidnappers, murderers, molesters, rapists, terrorists? And so it's the no man's land that we're guarding. And when Trump was there, not only were we guarding that, and he was building the wall, but he also had his Border Patrol turning those people away, which remain in Mexico before they could claim asylum. And it worked. So this 8 to 10 million, Chris, that's only the ones crossing the points of entry. That doesn't count the gotaways. That doesn't count the ones we never see, because we have more miles between Mexico and Texas on our border than you have miles between Atlanta and Maine. So we have a lot of Border Patrol, but we're doing it right. Get out of our way. And by the way, Chris, I want to say this clearly. Border Patrol rank and file men and women are terrific. They're just forced to be hotel clerks right now. But they have worked with us. Yes, they welcome us. We're good. We work like this together. It's the political side of that Biden tries to push the Border Patrol at the top. And even then, when I was there Friday, we already got word they weren't coming down to clip the wire. That would be the biggest political mistake of his career. Well, he's got a lot of them, but it would go to the top if he came down and confronted
he's good at that. He's very good at that.
And law enforcement. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I got 2 more questions and 2 minutes left. So let me just get these out to you. Yeah. Secretive senators in the Republican Party who are critical of those who are pushing back on their non-transparent efforts on a bipartisan amnesty bill. Listen to them.
I think there's voter frustration on it. I think everybody here is frustrated because they can't read the bill. Everybody at home is saying, okay, finally, we're actually talking about a bipartisan agreement to actually solve a border issue. Let's get it solved.
People have to show courage. If you're afraid, you got to read the bill. I mean, don't be ignorant. Read the bill.
So, Governor, Senator Cassidy there wants us to read a bill he's currently negotiating in secret. Right. But if the elements of this bill are true, it contains taxpayer-funded lawyers for illegals, green cards for illegals, 5,000 illegal aliens per day allowed into the United States. Critics say that a bill of this import should actually be negotiated in the full light of day. Do you agree with them?
Well, Chris, first of all, I have negotiated and passed thousands of bills in my 17 years. And you do have to meet sometimes, behind the doors to work out a bill, whatever it is, with Republicans or with the other party. You have to do that sometimes or you never get to the first step. But once you get to a certain step, you've got to show it to everybody in your party. You've got to show it. I don't want to hear this. They're going to bring it to the floor without people having time to read it. People need time to read it, time to people to look at it. And if what's true is in that bill, if it's true, any Republican senator who votes for that ought to be voted out of office. It's an absolute giveaway to the Biden administration. And think about what Biden is saying. Well, I'm going to cap it at 5,000 and then we'll shut it. Well, what does that say? First of all, 5,000 a day would still be 2 million a year almost. And secondly, it says he can shut it. In other words, I'll let 5,000 in and then I'll shut the door. Well, how about letting 50 in and shutting the door, or 0 in and shutting the door? So when I hear these senators, it's one thing to negotiate and try to get an agreement. But at this point, show us the money, show us the words, show us the bill. Right now, it sounds like it's dead on arrival.
Yes, and isn't it wonderful that they're gambling away with our safety and security in Texas with behind closed doors and not letting us see? Governor, I got to scoot. I'm out of time. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, always appreciate the visit.